Today's presentation is sponsored by Ignigma, issue number 4. Go to the website. I have a sale. You get 11 ebooks for $10 on the website. Uh, the QR codes, scan those with the phone. Go there. One is for the money, one is for the website. First, I want to congratulate Tariq Nasheed for getting the Hitting History Museum. I was one of the sponsors, financiers of the program, and I've been critical of the progress. It's been over a year, but finally came through, finally got a spot. It looks pretty good. I think I should play a video. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna play a video. Hold on.
Dad tax.
You know, that little or not so little.
Dad tax.
Dads are
All right, so we are at the museum spot that
Check
we
it
just
out.
purchased out here in Los Angeles. Beautiful space, man. Beautiful, beautiful space. This is the museum space. We're going to put a lot of good stuff in here. Some of the stuff that you see is not going to be in here, but we just got the place, man. We officially own this building here in Los Angeles on Jefferson. Man, great space. Nice outside. We're going to have some stuff going on outside here in the back. So we got some stuff in the back, and we're going to have some outdoor events and all that stuff happening. So this is going to be real fly. So y'all stay tuned. All right.
Yeah, I heard a lot of criticism. People saying the spot is too small, but it's always a start. And it seems as though it's like a storefront area. More areas adjacent to the building can be purchased and transformed. And also, since it's one story, you can always add floors on top of it. All you need is a building permit, plans, architect, and expand what's there. So it's all good. It's all good to see the black man having an idea and people coming together to finance it. And the video, the topic of this video is going to explain exactly why. Usually, the only way a black man can get his ideas financed is through the grassroots, crowdsourcing, and this is almost was pioneered by Negroes during the segregation days when black men and black people didn't have access to the banks. They had to pull their resources together, and other business professionals usually helped other business professionals, as far as incubators, get into the industries. And because so many of the black business endeavors and industries has been decimated due to integration, there's really no one to pull you into uh, the business endeavors or the business community, because black businesses usually pull in new entrepreneurs, but because there's no real black businessmen on a local level, really, the only way you can get into the game is usually by pulling resources or saving your money or being lucky. Because white capital, American capital, the private capital sector does not really finance black people endeavors. And this is why Tariq Nasheed had to come to the people, the grassroots, to raise the money to be able to purchase this property for the museum. And also it could be also used for other purposes, possibly a store. You could put a store in there to sell merchandise. So it's a good look. And helped to finance the project, and it's all good. But I want to talk about, according to this man, a real estate mogul by the name of Don Peebles. Don Peebles. I was listening to one of his interviews. He's trying to build the biggest skyscraper in the Western Hemisphere called Affirmation Towers, and he's getting backlash and he's getting roadblocks from the New York State government, even though he proposed he's gonna finance it with $3.6 billion. The New York is stalled because they had a change of the governor because Cuomo got kicked out, and now he says it's like it might not happen because they don't want a black man and black developers. It's him and a couple other black developers. One is so-called McKissick. Yeah, McKissick, the so-called oldest black developers in the United States, been around for 230 years, and they're trying to build this skyscraper in Manhattan. And when he was talking, he says that the Federal Reserve did a survey on how much money is invested in the United States, and they say there's $69 trillion currently invested in private equity firms. And of this $69 trillion, $67.7 trillion goes to white men. All other minorities have to share $1.3 trillion, and that includes white women. So let's assume white women get half of that 1.3. So $660 billion is being divvied amongst all other minorities: Asians, Hispanics, East Indians, Africans, blacks, Hawaiians, Pacific, everybody. So black men probably gets very little of that. But they say the black American woman has has opened up the most small businesses. The most small businesses, 30% of the small businesses open up by black women, yet they only get 0.2% of the $1.3 trillion. 1.3 trillion, 1% of that's 100 billion. That's 10 billion. So that's what, 13 billion. And then you got what? You get 2/10 of 13 billion. So that's 2/10. 1/10 of 13 billion is 1 billion, 1.3 billion. So you probably get 3 billion in all. Black women that combined get $3 billion totally from the United States. Yet they make up 30% of all of the businesses, new businesses. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out what has the white males done with this $67 trillion, $67.7 trillion. They haven't. I know what they haven't done. They haven't ended poverty in the United States. They haven't ended homelessness. They haven't done anything for the homeless. They haven't ended hunger, world hunger, even American hunger. They haven't improved the infrastructure. They haven't really improved the educational system. They haven't improved the so-called black community. So what have they been doing with this $67 trillion? They've been spending it on prostitutes. They've been going on vacation, buying yachts, squandering it. And another thing about this, when a corporation receives financing, according to the bankruptcy laws, right, due to the New Deal, Franklin Roosevelt, if they fail in business and bankrupt, the United States government assumes the debt of these businesses, these corporations. So that's why the debt, 30-something trillion dollars, because of the failed business endeavors of these white males who receive over 98% of all capital investment. And people don't even hold them to a standard and require more accountability for them to have so much wealth, and you don't see any real changes in the living conditions, especially of the black American Negro. And this is solely due to, I would blame the civil rights movement, because before the civil rights movement, the American Negro controlled 100% of their own businesses, 100% of their communities, and they control a vast amount of the wealth of the United States due to the fact of them controlling so much. of the economics of the communities, industries, the Negro leagues. Instead of going to the NBA, NFL, we had our own basketball, football, baseball leagues. Now the wealth is owned by all majority whites in the NFL, mostly the NBA, except Michael Jordan. But it's due to the blacks throwing away the economic power to integrate the lunch counter. They was too concerned with eating and going to the bathroom with the white people. They didn't see that they was giving up all of this power. And then the white man has the power, and the communities are in shambles. They're going around decimating and tearing down black communities, and they're using this $67 trillion to gentrify the black community. And also, let me take this off. Also, not only do they gentrify the black community with the money, according to Don Peoples, most of the financing comes by way of public investment, like cities like Chicago, Chicago pension funds, New York, these major cities with their pension funds, they invested in these private equity firms. They invested in these firms, and these firms go around in turn and invest this money however they feel they want to invest this money. They could invest it in black endeavors if they wanted to, but the man Don Peoples says that 98% of the people in charge of choosing where the money is invested choose to invest it in white corporations. And this is exactly how Elon Musk became the richest man in the world, because during the pandemic, a lot of these private equity funds, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, a lot of them invested in these corporations, Tesla, Amazon. And because Tesla received so much investment in his corporation, he became the richest man in the world. And prior to him being the richest man in the world, Amazon was the richest man in the world, solely because of these investments they received from the government. Cities, Chicago, New York, Detroit, New Orleans, and these cities invest in these white corporations or these white equity firms. And these equity firms invest solely in white people. And the banks refuse to give fair lending to black businesses. This is not just investment banks, this is regular banks. So blacks is denied universally. This guy Don Peoples calls it economic apartheid. You could be integrated. The white people and the black people could be able to walk down on the same street and go to the same bathroom, but you don't have access to the same money. The economics is segregated. He says that has to change, and that requires really Martin Luther King was talking about a drastic redistribution of economic and political power, because the politicians has a lot to do with where the money goes. He says the black caucus been in power for over 30 years, really 60 years. We have black politicians in power, and they have not advocated for the redistribution of money to the black community, particularly to the black man. They're advocating to give money to illegal aliens and Ukrainians, the black carcass. But they don't understand that the American black man is the foundation of the United States. If he goes, the country goes. If the black man fails, United States fails. When the black American man succeeds, the world succeeds. Like in the Bible it says, when the righteous is in power, the world rejoices. When the wicked is in power, the world mourns. That's what I'm saying. Like, what has the white man done with all of these $67 trillion? And how come they don't get the criticism from anybody? The media, the Americas. I'm pretty sure it's because most people don't know how much money the white man really has access to in relation to everybody else. It is disproportionate. They do not make up 98% of the population. So they shouldn't have access to 98% of the wealth. And they, with this 98% of the wealth, they haven't really produced anything. They haven't produced anything with this wealth. They've just been spending it, squandering it, going to the casinos, paying prostitutes, just living just squandering the money. They have a safety net. They have, in the United States code, tax codes, they have something called a golden parachute clause, in which a CEO can fail, and if the more he fails, the more money he get to leave. They call it a golden parachute. They pay the failing CEO millions of dollars to leave, so they don't fall flat like regular people. They get severance packages. So there's no real accountability for white people. They're not held to any type of standard when it comes to producing. Like this guy, Don Peebles, he says that it's very hard for him to receive funding from these investment firms, these investment banks, these equity firms, right? He says if he has a problem and he has billions of dollars, he has a proven track record. He's been developing houses and businesses and hotels for over 40 years. If it's hard for him, imagine a person who's just starting. It's impossible. It's impossible for a black American to receive the proper capital to succeed in this country due to the fact that the white male holds all of the money. And this is why it was important for us to finance Tariq Nasheed's endeavor as far as getting this property to start this museum. And this has to be something that's regular. It has to be regular, in which when a black man or a black woman has a business idea, the community should be the ones to finance that. And when the community finance it, there's no predatory interest rates. There's no loan sharking. There's no usury. You got the money you need, and that's it. You know? And perhaps the people who invest in the endeavor should have some type of interest in the thing they invested in, and receive some of the dividends from it, residuals. Well, with this Hidden History Museum, it was said that the financiers would get certain benefits, certain packages. You know, you get your name listed in the building that you was a financier, your business promoted. But it could have been something dealing with interests, you know, ownership interests. But that's neither here nor there. The most important factor was that it was done. And it's very difficult for American Negroes to receive financing from the industries, the private capital industries, the investment industries, due to institutional racism and economic apartheid. And this is why people should go to my website and support my business, because I want to open up a store too. I want to acquire a building too, a manufacturing facility too. But it's very difficult without capital, and the only source of capital that I have is through direct sales. That's about it, you know.